So I am currently working on some numbers and things in order to have the correct type of off-season content ready for you guys. I want to make most of in light of the Super Bowl, the alleged Super Bowl, which no one has ever actually seen. I wanted to have future-looking, forward-looking content for the channel, basically immediately. And I am working on some of those things currently, but they're going to be a little bit more work intensive. So I beg your pardon if there are some times where I do have to rely on someone else's article in lieu of other news, because we are not likely to get any news for quite some time, at least a couple weeks. But today, look, I really value the guys at Arrowhead Pride. I think that they were one of the original independent, online, team-specific voices. Way back in the day, you could get stuff from Chiefs.com, right? But you don't really want to do that if you want to actually understand things. Why? Because the Chiefs' official website has to talk good about the Chiefs. It's just the way it goes. It's understandable. It's propaganda. It's supposed to be that way. Having an independent voice, Arrowhead Pride was not required to speak in that manner. They did a much better job at the time than the mainstream media explicating the Kansas City Chiefs, because this was prior to the Mahomes era, and we all know that the ESPNs and CBSs and ABC Sports of the world did not pay very much attention to the Kansas City Chiefs at all. Well, one of the features that Arrowhead Pride has after every game, and I really appreciate this type of work. I don't think I have tried very hard on YouTube to have a release schedule. This article or feature comes out on this day on this channel. Maybe it doesn't work on YouTube, or maybe I just was not able to figure it out. But the winners and losers article from Arrowhead Pride on a weekly basis is really a staple of the media experience post-game for a Kansas City Chiefs game. That said, the winners and losers article for the Super Bowl was one of the most deranged experiences I have ever had reading that website. I'm not going to ruin the entire article, but I do have to talk about the losers here. There were 2 winners, and I believe it's 6 losers here. The biggest loser from that game does not appear on this list, and we're going to go over that at the end. The obvious winner from that game was on the winner's side of this list. But we begin here. Left tackle Joe Thuney and left guard Mike Caliendo. These two weren't supposed to be in these two positions, and it showed. Both appeared to be overmatched against a fierce Philly defensive front. Both should get credit for helping the team get to this point, but watching the offensive line be the primary reason for the reason this team lost another Super Bowl was maddening. I'm on both sides of the fence with these two players. Number one, you have a UDFA in Mike Caliendo, who was from a mid-major school starting in the Super Bowl. To call him a loser in that situation seems to be a hard sell. When you look at his performance, it seems to be completely obvious. Calling Joe Thuney a loser at the left tackle position seems to be rough. If you look at the film, it seems to be accurate. I don't know how you could say Trey Smith and Jawan Taylor do not emerge from that game in the loser category as well. So I would call this first entry, Joe Thuney and Mike Caliendo, at the very least, incomplete. The next entry, Andy Reid. Reed's masterclass in coaching against the Buffalo Bills was followed by an absolutely puzzling performance on Sunday. The game plan didn't work and there weren't any visible adjustments made. The makeshift offensive line probably should have been reshuffled when it was clear the Eagles would overwhelm them. The Chiefs had a couple of tackles on the bench that could have helped. They have a fullback and an extra tight ends. They have a deep playbook with some calls that typically make teams pay for getting too aggressive. Instead, the Chiefs went on their heels until it was too late. Yeah, I don't argue with anything in this entry. All of that is true and absolutely confounding. I said in my video after the Super Bowl itself, I am puzzled. I am constantly confounded by the Kansas City Chiefs' inability to simply lose a game. They have to come out and lay these absolute eggs. I don't understand it, and I doubt that I ever will. It is so confusing that a team can look so good for so long and then have a stinker to this catastrophic level. Why not keep a tight end on the line? Now, we'll get into why later it should not be a specific tight end that you're keeping in to block, but you have other tight ends on the roster. You have, like the article says, a fullback on the roster. You could even go a jumbo or heavy set if you thought that it would help. I don't understand the lack of adjustments or creativity from Andy Reid in this game. So they don't call out the fact that Andy Reid ran the ball approximately 2.5 times in the entire game, I don't think, in that blurb either. So I would say that is an incomplete there too. Defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. Well, if you're going to talk about the Chiefs being outpaced, Spagnuolo gets his share of the blame. Saquon Barkley was not the dominant force we feared he could be, as mentioned above. That was due to defensive scheme and execution, including tremendous tackling. Unfortunately, the Eagles were able to adjust moving the ball through the air with relative ease. I noted a number of times when the Eagles got the matchups they presumably wanted, it felt like they were able to force Trent McDuffie to face A.J. Brown and Jalen Watson to try to keep up with Devontae Smith, probably the exact opposite of what they wanted to see due to size and speed. They threw the ball to Barkley several times, exploiting a weakness in the Chiefs' ability to cover running backs. Jalen Hurts was excellent on the ground, setting a new Super Bowl record with 72 rushing yards and a tush-push touchdown. Brotherly shove is so much better than tush-push. I think we'll look back on the season and confirm that these were known deficiencies in the defense that the Eagles adjusted to while the Chiefs could not counter. I don't know how you include... If you watched the game, I think you know that those 40 points are not Steve Spagnuolo's fault. If you watched the game, I think you come away with an appreciation for Steve Spagnuolo greater than the appreciation with which you entered the Super Bowl. I simply do not agree there. I believe penultimately on the list, we have running back Kareem Hunt. The redemption story of Kareem Hunt could have been capped off in the sweetest way, with a Super Bowl win. Instead, the Chiefs got almost no production from Hunt or in the running game at all. Hunt had only 3 carries out of 7 for all the Chiefs running backs combined. Much of that is on the coaching and the play calling, and some of that is due to the Chiefs trailing throughout. But whatever the reason, it feels like a grand opportunity. It feels like a grand missed opportunity for Hunt. I don't know how you can point the blame on Kareem Hunt at all in this game. He doesn't get to call his own number. Just doesn't get to call his own number. So I think that this is an obvious miss on this article. And finally, Harrison Butker. Speaking of players who didn't get an opportunity, how about the bizarre fact that Harrison Butker didn't get an attempt to kick? The Eagles' kicking game was outstanding, hitting 4 field goals and 4 extra points, a couple of them after penalties that made them longer. This isn't so much to knock on Butker, who is among the best postseason kickers in NFL history. It's just a strange story of the game. When was the last time the Chiefs didn't attempt a field goal or an extra point other than Week 18 practice squad shutout? I believe it was December 2012 when the Oakland Raiders shut them out. It would be difficult to believe it ever happened to a team that scored over 20 points. I don't understand the point of even having Harrison Butker on here. This blurb is just words, if you ask me. To consider Harrison Butker a loser from the Super Bowl is a profound misunderstanding of the mechanics of football, in my estimation. Here's the real biggest loser from this game. Travis Kelce. It's Travis Kelce. I have not gone back and watched the game itself. Can't force myself to do it yet. But if you find yourself on Twitter/X, there are no shortage of video compilations floating around that website, that app, showing Travis Kelce doing absolutely F all on multiple plays during the Super Bowl. There is one of these grand Mahomes scrambles where Mahomes is running for his life and he revs back, pumps to throw the ball about 3 or 4 times, and he's looking back across his body, and he's breaking tackles behind the line, and there are offensive linemen kind of bumbling about him. You know the type of play. And it's so gorgeous on the screen because Travis Kelce's in the center of the screen the whole time. He does not work to get open. He does not work to set a block. He just kind of stands there. There are multiple videos on X showing Travis Kelce, quote unquote, blocking. Look, there was a long time during this season where I felt I had a little bit of egg on my face. I have long talked about how Travis Kelce's not a blocker, he's a get-in-the-wayer. He was an effective get-in-the-wayer, very effective at getting in the way. Not in the Super Bowl, guys. Not in the Super Bowl. Did not even get in the way on several occasions. And the moment that he was met with violence at the point of contact, he just kind of demurred away. Now, look, greatest tight end of all time, right? Greatest receiving tight end of all time, no question. That was a bad game. That was a bad look. You hate to point to a 40-22 loss and say that one player had an outsized impact on said loss. There are enough examples from that game for me to say Travis Kelce was not there. Travis Kelce was not in that game. Travis Kelce did not show up for the Super Bowl. There were a couple of, I would consider them drops. I don't know which services had graded them as drops. And when you follow up drops with not running a route, then not throwing blocks that lead directly to a player being tackled, I have long defended Travis Kelce. Just a couple weeks ago, I made a video about Travis Kelce. You don't want him to retire because you pay people that are way less involved in the passing game about as much as Travis Kelce, regardless of how good they actually are. I made that video. I meant that video. You have a small drop-off from Travis Kelce to the next types of names in salary. You have a large drop-off between Travis Kelce and the next types of names in receiving proficiency. That said, guys, go and find those plays for yourself because that was brutal. That is what I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There are lots of things going on the channel, lots of plans for the postseason, and I hope to have you back for the next one.